NBA Round 1 playoff matchups. And, you know, it's different this year in the NBA with the bubble and things like that. And I'm excited to watch it because now it's kind of like an AAU open gym concept thing, which I'm excited. I'm all for 100%. So, yeah, I'm excited. And the first matchup I want to talk about is in the East. And we're going to go from, top seed to lower seed matchup. So we're going to start with the Bucks versus the Magic. Um, yeah, personally, I don't see the Magic being able to hang with the Bucks whatsoever as long as Giannis is in the game. Even without Giannis in the game, I think it's going to be a clean sweep by the Bucks from the tip to Game 4. They're going to just dominate them very well, mainly because I don't think the Bucks, they're just not really going to be able to compete whatsoever. I just don't see it happening at all, and that's sad because I do like a couple guys on the Magic. Would like to see some of them get better and improve, but I haven't seen anything from any one of them making me think, oh, maybe they can pull an upset here. Maybe haven't seen anything that makes me even think they can pull off a single game win against the Bucks. But crazier things have happened in the NBA. But yeah, I think that series right there, the Bucks versus the Magic, is going to be a clean sweep. The Bucks are going to move on after sweeping them. The next matchup is the Raptors, who are the 2 seed, versus the 7 seed Nets. The Nets are hey, I like the Nets. They got some guys that I like. Sadly, they don't have their star players, but to me, that doesn't affect them as much. I really like them. And so Dinwiddie and I've talked about this with a couple other people before. Imagine what that team would have been with like this year if they still had D'Lo. I know that they have Kyrie and KD, but they're not playing for them right now in the bubble. Imagine that team with D'Lo. It would have been insane, but you can't because I don't even know where D'Lo is now. I can't remember if he got traded or not. So, yeah. The Raptors are an extremely talented team. 1 year removed after winning the NBA championship with Kawhi Leonard, they are the 2 seed in the East. That is amazing because a lot of people said Kawhi carried them. Now you may maybe think, oh, maybe that was a much better team than we thought. But the East has always been a much weaker conference than the Western Conference. So, yeah, I could see the Nets getting one game here away from the Raptors, but I think the Raptors take this one in 5 games for sure. But, yeah, who knows? I mean, the Raptors are a great team. I like Van Vliet, Kyle Lowry. I like Gasol. I like the mix of players that they have. So, yeah, I also like the mix of players the Nets have, but I don't think it's enough to get past the Raptors. The Raptors are probably going to move on in 5 games. Maybe the Nets take them to 6, but that's as much as it would go to. Then after that, we have the 3 seed versus the 6 seed. The 3 seeded Celtics versus the 6 seeded 76ers. And personally, this is another matchup where I could see the Celtics getting this game in 5. Like, I don't think the 76ers are going to get past Boston. I think Boston is a very, very, very good team. So, yeah, I just don't see the 76ers getting past them. I think the Celtics will take this one in 6. I think the 76ers will get 2 games, depending upon the health of, some of their players. But if the 76ers lose in the first round this year, there needs to be some changes made within that organization. Whether that means move on from some of your star players and try to rebuild and do something else. But it was a very disappointing year for them this year, especially after being so close to the finals last year. I mean, you were so close. But I think personally last year they would have possibly went and won the finals if it wasn't for that bounce-in shot by Kawhi. But when you're removed from that and you're the 6th seed in the East, you're not a top team. You're much lower and much more disappointing than other people expected. Your free agent signings were not great. You don't have a lot of shooting ability on that team. Al Horford and Joel Embiid just never meshed. Tobias Harris has not looked like he deserves a max contract. Ben Simmons still has not learned how to shoot the 3. I mean, there's major, major issues on that roster. And personally, if I was Embiid, I would want out. Honestly, I wouldn't. I mean, trust the process. I get it. You've been there a while. You stuck it out. But guess what? The process ain't working, my guy. Get out of Philly. Help yourself now so you can win a championship. Get out. Just bounce out of town. I think Simmons still has a lot of potential. I think we have seen not the best of what Embiid is, but I don't see Embiid getting to be much better than he already is because he's already at an elite level. Simmons could very much improve. So I think if the 76ers were smart and they wanted to go into rebuilding after this season, after they get bounced by the Celtics in the first round, you keep Simmons, you move on from Embiid. Maybe I've said this before, and I don't know if it's come out yet or not, but in the box media with Francis, a guy that I know, he's a good friend of mine, and we were on a Zoom meeting with him and a guy, Jermaine. I'll leave kind of both of their YouTubes in the link because they're cool dudes. I really like them. And I was on there. I said, okay, if they move on from Embiid, because this is a conversation we had, maybe they send Embiid to Portland in a package deal for McCollum and maybe Hassan Whiteside or Nurkic. And then that gives Dame some real massive help and a massive name. I think Dame and Embiid would mix well, but to me that's just the dream scenario for me. Mainly because I really love Embiid as a player, and I don't think he's going to win in Philly. I think that's a poorly run and poorly managed organization that makes not great decisions, in my opinion. So yeah, I think the Celtics are gonna get them in 5 or 6. Probably, I think the Celtics are gonna get them in 6 games. And yeah. The next matchup, though, is one that intrigues me. This is the one that will go to 7 in the first round, in my opinion. The Pacers versus the Heat. 4 versus 5. I love this matchup a lot. It's a good matchup, personally, in my opinion. You got Vic, you got Brogdon, you got TJ Warren, you got Jimmy Butler, you got Tyler Hero, you got Duncan Robinson. I mean, Jimmy Butler could really prove something this year. I mean, he's a seed above the 76ers after helping them get to where they were last year in the playoffs. And I think the Heat team could maybe, there's a chance, I don't know who they would play in the second round, but there is a real shot. Oh, they would play the Bucks. They could give the Bucks a run for their money in the second round even. I don't think they have the size to do it, but their shooting ability is very good. Jimmy Butler as an alpha is great. This game's going to 7, though, and I have the Heat taking this game in 7 games. So, yeah. I really like the Heat this year. I think they have a real great young core of players that are going to build very, very well with the way Jimmy Butler plays. And those guys just love Jimmy. Jimmy loves those guys. It mixes well for them. So, yeah, that was my thoughts on the Eastern Conference playoffs there, the 1 through 8 seeds. So, yeah. Now we'll move on to the West, and we'll start again with the top seed and work our way down. So, in the Western Conference, we have the Lakers versus the Blazers in the first round. It honestly looked there for a while like the Blazers they're hot. They're very hot. They're an extremely hot team. The Lakers have not been hot since entering the bubble. But it's almost seemed like the Lakers were coasting because they already knew they had the number 1 seed. Why go out there and exert your players' energy? Wasted, even though they rested for 4 months. Why do it when you can have those guys ready for the playoffs and make sure that there's no injuries and actually make a run here? And with the talent that is on the Lakers roster, with Rajon Rondo possibly returning, I don't know if it's going to be game 1, but I could see him back for maybe game 2 or 3. And that's huge because it helps fill the void for the Lakers, issues at the guard position. And now while I think Dame is still going to ball this series, I don't believe the Blazers have what it takes to beat the Lakers. Not at all. I just don't see it. Nurkic could be playing out of his mind, and McCollum could be playing very well. Dame, I know, is playing out of his mind, and Melo can do some things, but I don't see them getting past LeBron and AD. I think LeBron and AD, just the way things are going this year, stars are aligning for them to really make a run this year. I really like the Lakers, but I don't like them as much as some other teams in the West, just because I don't believe in their depth as much. But with Rajon Rondo coming back, it helps their case. I think they're neck and neck with another team. But yeah, I think the Lakers get this one in 6. I think the Blazers, they're a tough team. They're an 8 seed that is a much better than an 8 seed. They just had some struggles earlier in the season before they got to the bubble. So yeah, I think the Lakers take that one in 8. I mean, not 8. Take that one in 6. And then moving on to the next game, the next matchup, it's 2 versus 7, the Clips versus the Mavericks. The Mavericks are sneaky. I don't like their bench is awful. Their bench is awful. That is going to be their real issue because when you compare their bench to the Clippers bench, Mavericks bench is here. Clippers bench here. Clippers have the best bench in all of basketball. Not even close. And they have a great starting 5. So it is very tough. And their size, too, is, a little odd, too. So matching up with them is not fun. Luka and Kristaps are going to have to play out of their mind. I think they can get 1, maybe 2 games, but I think Clippers at max win this one in 6. And then the next one after that is the Nuggets versus the Jazz. This game was actually being played as I was doing my notes and things like that. I have not checked the score, so we will go to ESPN now. But this is the matchup one of the matchups in the West that I love to death because of the fact that, I just love both the teams' depth. There's starters on the teams that I've just loved from both guys. And, wow. Donovan Mitchell put up 57 points today, but they fell to Denver. So Denver leads this series now 1-0. And, wow. Mitchell balled today. I watched a little bit of it, but, man, I didn't realize how good Mitchell was playing. I mean, I knew he was playing good, but I was kind of getting my podcast ready and editing some YouTube videos together, so it was just kind of background noise, but wow. What a game that had to have been. Upset I didn't get to watch that fully through. Hopefully I get to see some more games tonight later after I record this and edit this stuff down. But exciting. I mean, so the score of that game was 135-125. And see, this is the reason I like the Nuggets. I like their starting 5. Their starting 5 is Jamal Murray, Paul Millsap, Michael Porter Jr., Craig, and Jokic. Guys that I really like. Craig, he kind of, he started this game, but there's guys that get more minutes than him, like Jermaine Grant coming off the bench and stuff like that. So he's not, he was just kind of there today. But I love their starters. Jamal Murray played very well today. 36 points in the win. Wow. What a good game. This is a game that I could see going to maybe 6 or 7. I think the Nuggets will get this one in either 6 or 7, but the Jazz are going to give them a run. Clearly they did today, and they took them to overtime. So, yeah, this is an exciting series for me because I don't think either team, they're great, but they're young, so I don't see them moving past maybe the second round. But, wow, that is a great game. I could see the Nuggets getting that in 6 or 7, probably 6. But, yeah, and then the next matchup after this is my favorite matchup of the entire first round. For this reason, I've never said it one time in my life, but I am somewhat of a Thunder fan. I jumped on the bandwagon back in the day because I didn't get into basketball until I was like 12 years old. So when I got into basketball, KD was like the MVP of the league. Russ was doing his thing. They had Harden. They were getting to the finals playing LeBron. I really wanted them to win that finals, but looking back, I was like, if they would have won that finals, they would have probably found a way to keep that team together. They would have dominated this whole, last decade. But they fell, and then everybody kind of went their separate ways. And I slowly, I didn't believe necessarily in what the Thunder did last year was a great move, but I understood that they needed to do something different because it just wasn't working. They got bounced in the first by the Blazers, so they moved on from Russ, sent him to Houston in a trade that sent Chris Paul to OKC. And, that move in and of itself was something that I liked Chris Paul. I thought Chris Paul was past his prime, but I thought, okay, there's some young guys on the team. This is rebuilding here. If Chris Paul decides to actually play, this will be good. I said he'll be able to mold some of the young players and help them in their careers, and maybe the up and up could be. And then Paul George got traded, and then boom, we got all these picks, and we got one of the best scorers from the Clippers last year, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And I was like, I could still see this team, winning some games, but I thought for sure they were lottery bound. I didn't think they would be the 5th seed in the West above the Utah Jazz or even the Mavericks, honestly. I thought the Blazers would have been much better than that as well, but they're the 8th seed. And There, the Thunder sit with a talented roster, um, a lot of draft picks in the next upcoming drafts and over the years. If they want both trades clearly, at least currently, and with their future, I mean, the way they build and things like that, this is a team that is somewhat scary, especially facing a team that has a small ball lineup. People forget that Steven Adams is one of the better offensive rebounding centers in the entire league. And when you're playing small ball, do you think PJ Tucker is going to stop Steven Adams from grabbing a rebound and putting up that layup or passing it back out for the second chance bucket? No, it's not happening. Like, he might stop him a couple times, but like, there's a good chance that OKC is going to have a second chance opportunity for points every second or third time that they miss a shot, which is huge, especially when you're playing guys that can score like Harden and Russ. And with CP's leadership, Shea's scoring ability, Steven Adams' offensive rebounding ability, some other guys on that team like Mike Muscala, I mean, I think the Thunder, this is a game that I believe will go to 7, but I think the Thunder are going to beat the Rockets in 7 games. That's if Russ comes back and is healthy. I mean, if he's not back and healthy, they might be in trouble. Austin Rivers would probably fill in for Russ, but Austin Rivers is not Russ. He does not have the same play style ability. Nobody really does. Jaw does. That's about it. Jaw has that same, fierce ability, and Jimmy Butler has that same competitive nature Russ has, but nobody is Russ. Nobody's even close to Russ in that aspect of his game. So yeah, it's exciting. That's an exciting series. I'm so excited to watch it. And this whole playoffs, just the in the bubble thing has gone over so well. I love every move the NBA has made. Credit to Adam Silver and the NBA for doing such a fantastic job in the NBA restart. And I'm so excited to watch the playoffs.